Hello and welcome to SkyTour LiveStream for this evening, October 18th, 2018. It's a chilly one, but we're going to do our best to check out the moon and some double stars and look for any anomalies we can see. Maybe we'll even go for some geosynchronous satellites while we're here. But I'll tell you this, it's going to be a nice night. It's actually one of the clearest nights of the season. It would stand the reason that, of course, there's a big giant moon. But you know something? You look on the screen now, I took this with a big giant moon out. Not bad, not bad. See you in a bit. So yes, as I said, and I want to welcome Amanda to the stream. She's with us. Hi there, Amanda.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good, good, good. So, Amanda and I, as you know, we do SkyTour Radio, and we actually have a really good time. And Amanda makes it really, I guess, cohesive, because she asks,
I try.
Yeah, you ask some good questions, and I think when you ask questions, it's actually very, very nicely done. You actually ask the right questions that people out there are asking or thinking if they don't ask them. So I think that's something we really have to keep in mind when we listen to and do our shows. There's also a rumor that SkyTour Radio is going to achieve the acquisition of an additional hour. I don't. Yeah. And it may happen by January, and there are some other things in the works. SkyTour Radio and SkyTour LiveStream will be taking to the video screen. We're going to be doing some documentary style productions in the near future that I will keep you in limbo about until we have all the particulars and get all the logistics worked out. But we're looking forward to that, and I think that it's going to be a really, really good time. Now, getting to the astronomy that we're all here for, I'm looking outside.
Well, actually, a question already came in.
No,
and it was
sir.
It was what happened last night. And I tried to explain the Wi-Fi dropped, but Mark has some new hardware, got a new router, and we think the issues have been cleared. So thank you all for coming back.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I did have, I had a bit of an issue with my router. It was misbehaving, very badly, I should say, and I did not appreciate what it did to us. So the bottom line is that my internet would get dropped, and when I talked to my provider, they said, "Oh, well, your router is way beyond its service life." I was like, "What?" I mean, boy, I hope they don't do that with aircraft, you know. And they said, "Well, you know, if you need it today," I said, "Well, I stream. I'm streaming, and I lost my internet 2 nights in a row after 30 minutes in one night and 40 minutes in another." And they said, "Well, you can come down and get a router, and it's a self-install thing. You can just do it that way, and you can, you know, reconfigure your Wi-Fi and all that." And I said, "Oh, the heck with that! I'm going to do that then, because I can do all that stuff." I mean, to own a modern observatory, you have to know how to do all of those things. So I went down there, installed the router. We're up and running, and right now we're in the green. I don't see any problems. So I'm going to hope that that solves the problem. The router didn't cost me a penny because I was kind of irate about it. I wasn't being a jerk, but I was irate. Anyway, on the screen is the Andromeda galaxy, that wonderful galaxy that so many people love to see. It is a 2 million light year distant galaxy, but in a few billion years, about 1 billion years actually, it's going to pass through the Milky Way. And I say pass through the Milky Way because the fact is, people say, "Oh, it's going to collide with us." And they think the worst. They think disaster is afoot and that we're going to be destroyed by this thing. But the fact is, we may not even notice that it happened. The galaxy, of course, will be altered, tremendously by the gravitational influence of the Andromeda galaxy, and the disk of our galaxy may warp and get pulled up toward the Andromeda galaxy, and the Andromeda galaxy's disk will warp, and then we may merge, or we may pass through each other, and the galaxies may continue on their way and form some type of orbital interaction over time. Either way, the Andromeda galaxy is a lot bigger than ours. It has it has almost 1 trillion stars, all right, and it's more than 2 times the size of our galaxy. So, whereas we're about 100,000 light years across, it's just over 200,000 light years, and that is a huge distance. That's large.
I still don't get that concept though, because you keep saying that.
Tell me. No, tell me. Go ahead. What's the concept you need?
Well, you keep saying it's going to pass through and nothing much is going to happen, but I mean, if they have other star systems like we have our solar system, and they have other exoplanets and stuff, like, when we're talking that kind of size,
yeah,
I can't see everything just passing through. Like, I can't see nothing colliding with something. I can't see some kind of impact happening, or some kind of more than just a warp of the disk,
Well, think about it. The only way that...
Well, that's what I mean. There's got to be things in the galaxy. In the Andromeda galaxy.
Well, there are. There's stars, and there's gas, there's dust, there's planets.
Are there exoplanets? Yeah, sure. Exactly. So... I don't know. It seems very unlikely that 2 large masses like that, filled with all sorts of stuff, are going to pass through and no kind of impact is going to happen. Or millions of impacts might happen all over the place, all throughout the galaxies, if that makes sense.
I know what you're saying, but I want to clarify something. When we look at the Andromeda galaxy, especially at the center of the Andromeda galaxy, what do we see? We see a bright, opaque white thing, or yellow thing, right? And it's there on the screen now. But what we're really seeing are, obviously, millions upon millions upon millions of stars. And they look closer together near the nucleus, and they are, than in the disk, right? And so this is all true. But, even so, if we were to go there, go racing through the Andromeda galaxy right now, just aim for it, we might come close to stars, but it's likely that we might not ever hit a star if we just went on a straight line. And I know that's a hard concept, but once you get there, alright, it's not compact like this anymore. It's spread out across your entire sky, and the stars looking close like this is actually kind of a galactic illusion. It's like globular clusters. When we look at globular clusters, and Daryl suggested a globular cluster that we look at the other night, and I wonder if you still have that, because it's something that we could look at, because it points out the same kind of problem. Is
it the antennae galaxies?
No, there's a globular cluster, not antennae. But the antennae galaxies...
Well, he was suggesting to look that up to see what may happen.
Yep, no, that's true.
Was that a similar thing with galaxies going through each other?
Yes, exactly so. And what happens is gas and dust and stars get dragged out by the gravitational pull. But what doesn't happen is you don't see large-scale collisions between stars. You just don't, and it's because the stars have their own gravity, and they hold planets around them, of course. But the other stars that are coming in tend to start angling. If they're heading for another star, they tend to angle in a way that isn't perfect, and the chances of them hitting perfectly straight on is very rare, even amongst millions of stars. So they would tend to orbitally whip each other around, perhaps, and that's how these long tails form around galaxies, and whips and warps of the disk. But that's not what we would typically expect to see is collisions. Okay, now that's just a truth of the whole process. Now, is it possible there'll be collisions? Well, sure, absolutely. It's very possible there could be collisions, but I don't expect that we'll see any collisions. But it's possible that there could be some. But it'll be on the rare side, frankly. I'm gonna take us to another object here in a moment, and I gotta see where I am in the sky. Hold on one second. All right. Wow, that was crazy. All right.
Daryl's wondering if it was M15.
Oh, maybe it was. He asked about the globular cluster in particular, and it might have been
it's Globular in Pegasus.
Okay. Well, then I think we should take a look at that if we can. All right, I am.
And Charles makes a good point. Says it's hard to consider the enormous amount of space there is in space. Our local area maybe has 20 stars within 10 light years.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and when you look at the vast distance between the stars, that's why it's easy for someone like me who knows how these things are laid out to say, and sound somewhat flippant, which I'm not meaning to be, that it's likely that we'll never even see a collision, Alright, I'm going to do 20 seconds at 10,000 right here, just to get a status on this object. This is Messier 33 in Triangulum. It's the SC spiral galaxy. We looked at it the other night, briefly, until my stream decided to, drop out on us, which was just very, very nice of it to do.
See, and I was thinking, Daryl saying that the Great Square of Pegasus is high right now. And I was thinking of that earlier. Is that where... Oh, I'm going to mispronounce it again.
Excuse me, folks.
Euphesus is? How bad did I distort that word?
I mean, bad enough that I even laughed at you without meaning to do so. Like, I wasn't trying to be mean. Ophiuchus.
Well, you always know what I mean, so...
Oh, I do. And by the way, just so you know, I make mistakes too. I just took a 20-second photo at ASA 10,000 or ISO 10,000 with the cap on the end of the telescope. So I've now removed it, and that's a beautiful double star actually that we're looking at right there on the left side. But I'm now gonna take a photo.
Ophiuchus,
yep.
Yeah, I had to see the word again to remember how to pronounce it.
Seeing the word like that, okay. Why do we put ourselves through this? I mean, it's such a tough. Why don't we just say Bob? This is the constellation Bob, B-O-B.
I like the mythology behind it.
Oh, I know you do.
Ophiuchus was the one that rode Pegasus. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just had to see the word again to remember how to pronounce it, but
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And didn't that go supernova? Wasn't that like one of the first supernovas that we witnessed?
Which one?
Maybe not.
Which one are you talking about?
In Ophiuchus.
Well, it can be either way. Ophiuchus. I'm not sure. Most of the supernovae we've seen have occurred in other galaxies, and if you're talking about Ophiuchus and a supernova within our own galaxy, those are actually quite rare because we only see a certain portion of our galaxy. We don't see a major portion. We just see the part that we're in. Okay, this is how the picture will look typically, and I'm just playing with the image processing dynamically to give us a little extra view here. I'm not sure if it's actually yeah, it's very hard to see tonight because of the moon. There's only so much we can do in image processing to see things, but it's okay. I do not mind. You wanted to find, let's see, I did a observing list of globular clusters and double stars tonight, and I will, we're at the wide angle, by the way, we're in the wide shot. I actually 3D printed a adapter for my camera so that I could just plug it into the wide angle telescope and it'll all be perfectly focused. Alright,
what is that fuchsia one?
Oh, that's actually, that star, that's a star near the Triangulum galaxy, near the pinwheel. And let me see if I can actually identify it for you.
It's just so bright and pretty, I figured that would be what we were looking for.
No, we're looking for the star. I'm sorry, the galaxy. It has a low surface brightness. This, let me look at this. Yeah, Mike, I'm wondering if I actually... the telescope might be a little bit off here, but I'm gonna check that. I'm gonna check it right now. I'm gonna do an alignment real quick, which is fast and easy. I'm gonna go down to Alpha Triangulum, the brightest star in the constellation Triangulum. And that's it up to the upper right now. And the telescope brings it a little closer. Okay, now what I'm going to do, see, now that I have two telescopes to be concerned with, I'm going to take this out of this telescope, take the camera out of this telescope, and I'm going to put it into the other telescope, which also has the cap on the end. So I got to take that off too, and I'll do that right now. Yeah, there we go. All right. Alright.
And one of our faithful viewers is asking if there's any chance faithful viewers can win a 3D crater.
Ooh, that's interesting. I would like
With
to...
the holidays coming up, maybe?
I would like to figure out a way for make that happen. And who is this faithful viewer?
That is Victor.
Victor! Awesome. Alright, let me... maybe we can. Maybe we can.
Well, it's a good idea. I had to pitch it.
No,
Gotta
it's a
let
very
people
good idea.
know that I do. I am reading chat, and
yes, you are.
when I see a good idea, I
Yep.
steal it right away.
That's funny.
I pitch it.
Yeah.
And one of our faithful viewers is actually going to be a guest on this week's SkyTour Radio.
That's right. And does he know that?
Yes, he does.
Okay. That's important.
Yeah. I see you're recording, so that means you're aligning again.
Actually, I'm focusing. See this?
Focusing, yes.
Oh,
and I used to know the term for what you're doing.
Shoot.
Defragmenting?
No, defocusing, yeah.
Defocusing.
I had my little focus 3D printed object on the camera, and that's why I was having trouble seeing anything, because it wouldn't focus. And now you see it does. Alright, now I just have to do the critical focus of this, and that's why I was having trouble. Gosh, it was making me nuts. I was like, what's going on here? Why is I have the telescope uncovered. So you can see those small stars. And then I have the focus set up. And now I just have to hit the button to make the focus. And you see it go out of focus, and then back into focus. It looks like it's okay, and we can, now that we did that, we can just take a quick, well, there's nothing quick about this. I'm going to take a quick, I'll do 16,000 for 20 seconds.
And is this all through the big scope?
Now we're in the big scope, yes.
Okay.
Alright, and I've got my okay, here we go. And now let's see. Yeah, okay, good. So now I'm getting some good imaging here. That star that we're looking at right there is actually, I'll tell you what it is. That's Beta Andromeda, by the way, the star that you're seeing there. And the thing about... Is
that the fuchsia one I was asking about?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
But...
Beta Andromeda.
Right. But Beta Andromeda is an interesting star because it's near something else that showed up as an object that then vanished and has never been seen again in astronomy. It's called Mirach's Ghost. It was an object that was seen one time and reported, and then when it was looked for another time, it wasn't there. And so they think that maybe there is a lightening and darkening nebula or something that's going on here, where the light periodically brightens to a point where you can see something going on, and then it's not there anymore. So that was Mirach's Ghost. That's right in this area, this very region we're in. Okay.
Mirach's Ghost?
Yeah, Mirach.
We should have that for our Halloween episode.
Yeah, can you copy that down?
I can.
Thank you, because we do have a number. We have a Halloween episode coming up, folks, which is going to be really fun. We're going to be talking about all kinds of objects in astronomy that are named for, well, demons and witches and ghosts and so forth, and we'll talk about them a little bit in depth, and that'll be kind of fun, and we'll have a good time with that, as I know you will too. I know you will too. Okay, now I'm going to put on the dew cap on the telescope. The dew cap is the indispensable item that keeps the dew off the lens, because even on a night like this where there's little or no dew, the ambient temperature of the metal is cooler than the ambient temperature of the air, and so okay, now I've got animals, and any kind of moisture that's in the air will tend to fall onto the optics, because it's going to be cooler and it will condense even though you don't expect it will. It's just a crazy thing. Okay. We've had a lot of coyotes lately. So
when you said animals, I was kind of hoping it was dogs, but...
Well, I heard my dog barking. Okay, I heard Dingo barking.
Okay.
That's who you hear in the background now. And then with Dingo barking, I heard another neighbor dog barking, so... And I apologize, folks, for clearing my throat. This is what you get when you have a paralyzed vocal cord. It's actually, it's not improving, but it's the condition is getting better. Anyway, this is Beta Andromeda right here, and we're actually looking at Beta Andromeda for far too long, and I'd like to actually get us something interesting to see. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and get our observing list. There we are. Okay. Now, rising is Andromeda and Pegasus, of course. We also have Auriga coming up. You know, Capella is visible already coming up. I can see the basic shape of Auriga, and that is looking pretty interesting. There's a few interesting things in Auriga to check out too. And it's since it's about 30 degrees here, and then I was talking to someone in Arizona today, and someone in Arizona thinks it's cold when it's 58. And I was talking to a police officer in Gilbert, Arizona, and he said that she said that it's 58 out, and I've got my car heat on full blast. I was like, wow. 58 is t-shirt and shorts weather around here. It's all in what you're used to, guys. You know. So I apologize for my my dingo, but she's just doing what she's doing, you know. That's what they do. Oh, see, now all the other dogs are barking. Yeah, there's definitely something coming through. Could be a bear. I forgot the gun. I should have taken the gun, you know, in case I had to scare it. I don't shoot animals. I just can't do it. But a loud noise scares off anything. So, you know, shoot a gun. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's go check it out. Okay, this if this is correct, then we should be seeing M15, which I believe Daryl asked us for last time, correct? Is
M15?
Yeah, is Daryl here? He is, right?
He is. Yes, he is.
Well, let's find out if this is correct, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to take a... Let me just actually do a 4K video here for a sec. Let's see what we get.
Daryl actually had a good question, and
Okay.
I might have to look into the lore to find out.
All right.
He says, if Booties is the herdsman, and Auriga is the charioteer, why is Capella holding 3 baby goats? And Capella is the person driving the chariot, so...
That's interesting. I don't know.
There's got to be some kind of lore. Maybe Capella was rescuing the goats?
Oh.
Maybe the goats are Ares, Phobos, and Deimos?
Were those goats? You remember our constellation episode?
No, they weren't goats, but...
Okay. Alright, I seem to...
symbol for Ares, a goat? And they all rode chariots into battle?
Okay.
In the Iliad?
Oh, Homer.
I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on, like, all of those points, but... Good question.
Yeah.
I like thinking about things like that.
Sure. I'm going to do just a
many
quick...
people saw the same things.
10 seconds at 12:08. I'm not sure that M15 is in here. I didn't see it in the 4K view. But let's see what I got. Yeah, I don't see it. No, oh, you know what though? I've got to be careful because I've got image processing going on, which could defeat that. Oh, okay, so let me just do this here. 1 second, let me check this out. Let's go back to defaults. Okay. I don't
And Charles,
see
like the video that you and Mika Hanks and
Oh yeah,
Alejandro Rojas did, and Lee Spiegel and
Devil's Tower.
David Marler,
Yeah, Dave Marler. Yeah, yeah, good guys.
And
All good.
I saw something on Facebook that you were going to be on the show this Sunday morning, afternoon, late evening, 5 p.m. Eastern, I think.
What show is
With
that?
Paulino.
Oh.
Maybe it was a pre-record. I don't know.
No, it's not. It's a live show. Yeah, that's this Sunday. That's correct.
Yes. So, I'll see if I can actually find the link and throw it in chat if anyone wants to tune in.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was 5 p.m. The telescope is in Connecticut.
That is correct.
Lionel wants to know.
All right. Okay. This is Epsilon Pegasus. And we're in Epsilon Pegasus for a reason. And that is I want to do an alignment. And this, I'm going to align on this right here. And let's hope that this is correct. Alright. So now, if I take us to, let's see, if I take us to another location. When I was spinning the dome earlier, I bumped the telescope and I think I might have knocked it out of alignment. So I'm just trying to get it working again, get it back to where it belongs. Alright, and there's Cygnus is still high, so I'm going to try and go to Gamma Cygni, which I know what that region looks like, and we'll see. Alright, so now I'm going to go to Gamma Cygni. Don't worry, we're going to come back to M15. Oh, well, that can't be right.
Okay, it's at noon Eastern.
Ooh.
Is it?
Wow.
No, 9 a.m. I don't know, 5 p.m. BST. I don't know what BST is. Something in England.
Okay.
So if it's 5 in England, then it is 1 here, so it is at noon Eastern.
Okay.
I'll try to remind you if I can remember.
Alright. Alright. I have figured out the problem that I'm having. The problem is that my telescope did get knocked, and I don't have alignment any longer. So I'm gonna take us to a program star that I often use for that, and we're going to do an alignment.
British Standard Time. Thank you, Ronald.
Oh, good job, Ronald.
I don't know why it wouldn't be GMT, Greenwich Mean Time.
Well, it could be. You know, I mean, it could be stated in that time. It could be stated any time there is. So that is interesting. Okay, I am just trying to actually just to make it interesting. I'll put on the camera. Alright, so do this. Alright, we'll record all this so you can just watch and check it out. It is kind of cool. Alright, so let's bring up the ASA and we'll go whizzing through some of the Cygnus location. Alright, so now let's go down. Oops, I want to go faster than that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Zoom, zoom, zoom. There we go, and zoom, zoom. Okay, and now we should go and see. I see Vega. Yeah. What the heck?
What is that?
That's Vega.
Vega.
Yeah, but it's got an artifact around it, which makes me think that the telescope has got a moisture issue on it already.
Oh, don't say that.
That's okay. I'm gonna combat it tonight because I've got a way to combat it. I just don't. There's really no moisture outside though. It's a very dry night, so I'm not liking what I see. However, it is what it is. And what I'm gonna do now, now that I know that's Vega. Sorry, my red light was interfering here. I have to move us over a little. Okay. So now that we have Vega in here, and I know that's Vega, I can make us align to that. Okay. And now we're aligned to that. All right. So, technically now, if I wanted to go look at the Ring Nebula, I just have to go to this spot and say go to, and I shouldn't have any problem. It should show us the Ring Nebula. And there it is. The Ring Nebula is that planetary nebula. Is the end state of a star, somewhat like the Sun. I was just trying to get my alignment back, which I did. I kind of cheated it, did it on the fly. The Ring Nebula, very, very cool. I've looked at this ever since I was a kid, and you know, my friends and I, we used to call it the little smoke puff. You know, it looked like a smoke ring, and so you know, it's about, I'd say 1,400 light years away, and it's typically these nebulae that you see, planetary nebula. Just give you a little. This isn't exact, but it's a way to think about them. When a star gets older and it swells into a red giant, it sometimes will slough off its outer layers. It puffs them off. That happened here. That happened with the Dumbbell Nebula. And when it happened, what happens is the nebula, because of the nature of the way the nebulas are formed. I'm going to take a picture now of it too, just so you know. I'm going to do this. So it's going to go away for a second. The nature of the way these things are formed, the thing that we'll see with these nebulae is that when they form, they will expand at a certain rate. And that certain rate really is only supersonic, believe it or not. And over time, the nebulae get out to about a light year in diameter, typically. And some are more, some are less. But a good rule of thumb is about a light year. So when you look at the Ring Nebula as a whole, it's about a light year in diameter. And if you do the math and figure it out at 1,400 light years, then that kind of gives you an idea. I'm going to do a 10-second shot at, and I like showing you all the parameters I'm using because I didn't do this before, and I think it's better to do it. I'm going to do it at 8,000. 10 seconds, you see it in the lower left there, 10 seconds at 8,000 ISO, or sensitivity. So here we go, let's see what we get. Again, the moon's out, so it's going to be a sort of a blue field. But I'm using a light pollution filter, so that will tend to make things look a little better. So here it is. Let's zoom in a little and see what we get. Okay, I can see that these stars probably could use a little bit of a critical focusing. We're not quite there, but you can actually see the central star inside the ring. It's very faint. The star in the middle is about 14th or so magnitude, and it's a little bit dim. But I really, the Ring Nebula has always been a favorite of a lot of people, including me. You've seen our Dumbbell Nebula photos that we took, and the Dumbbell has been just classically one of the best that we've ever seen. And I figure while we're kind of in this region of the sky, maybe we can actually go check it out. It's still up, and it's not. Well, I see where it is, and it's. We might be able to see it. So let me just. I'll try for it. Shall I? Sure.
I think you should.
I shall. Then we're going to go to M15. I promise, Daryl. So, the Dumbbell Nebula is known as M27, Messier 27, the 27th object that Charles Messier added to his catalog in the late 1700s. And so there we are, and now we can go to this beautiful object. Just get the camera on a live mode here. There we are. And now let's go take a look at what we got. Let's go into 4K mode quickly and check out, make sure it's what we think it is. Oh, look at that, right in the middle. Okay, so now we'll come back down and we'll go to another 8,000. Actually, we're gonna kill the video. Let's go 10,000 and let's do 15 seconds. It might be a little bright, but don't forget, I do on-the-fly image processing now for all of you, so on the photos that we see, we can play with them to make them look better. And I think that that would be something that would be useful. So here we go, and we'll see we get what? There it is. Wow.
Lovely.
Dumbbell's beautiful. I'm telling you, it's always just a beautiful sight when I see this.
I always see an apple core now.
Well, yeah,
ever since I heard that term.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? And you'll see that it has a red fringe around the outside edges, and it has the bluish light that's glowing. Those are actually you're actually watching atomic energy changes there, basically. In other words, the electrons are being ionized from the gas that's in this nebula. The gas, of course, was made in the star, or it was there in the star, and you know, was finally liberated after the star sloughed off those outer layers as it aged. But this particular gas, that central star you see right in the middle, that's a little white dwarf, and you can see this white dwarf from this distance because of the fact that it's highly it's highly visible because of the temperature. It's also giving off a lot of ultraviolet energy. It's really the core of the star left over, in a sense, and it has mostly carbon atoms on its surface, the final byproduct of the fusion process. And this apple core, so to speak, this nebula, it's glowing blue because there is doubly ionized oxygen that's in this nebula. And what happens is when the bright, hot, high energy ultraviolet light from that white dwarf strikes the oxygen atoms that are in this nebula, it ionizes the oxygen atoms, all right, twice, and you get this doubly ionized state of this oxygen atom. So that means that there's electrons that are kicked off of the atoms, and they will be liberated for a period of time. Then they recombine as they lose energy with the atom, and when they drop into another state in the atom, a lower state from when they are kicked out, they give off light. They absorb light when they get kicked out, but then they give off light when they actually come back in and recombine. In doubly ionized oxygen, this particular color that we see, the bluish green, this particular color is actually a color that's very characteristic of planetary nebulae, because planetary nebulae are caused by dying low mass stars that are lower mass than the giants that explode. And these dying low mass stars are generally stop at oxygen and can make a little bit of carbon, and they make these little processing here. And they make these nebulae like this. So what we're looking at is a combination of things. Now, we are at 10,000 ISO, so that's why it looks a little bit grainy, so to speak. We're also zoomed in on it a little bit. In fact, we can even zoom in more. Okay, and you can see that central star. But you know, when you're looking at these things, I just think that it's really quite a feat to be able to see these objects in such detail. It's really, to me, just magical. So I'm really I'm happy that you guys could join me on this trip here to see these things. Now, when we talk about this particular object, you know, we're talking about something that is also about 1,400 light years away. And so, you know, it's expanded a little bit differently than the Ring Nebula, but it's expanding nonetheless. And as it expands outward, you'll get to a point where the hot energy, the ultraviolet energy from that white dwarf, can no longer ionize. And so you see a rather sharp border where that falls off at that point. And that's kind of part of the reason. So the gas may go a little further, all right, but we don't see that because it's not ionized anymore, because the temperature, that is to say, the impact radiation hitting those atoms isn't enough to ionize them at that point. So that's what happens, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's very complicated too, because there's what are called shock fronts along the fronts, and the interstellar medium, that is the area between the stars, is not empty. Generally, there's dust and there's other gas in those areas, which also gets pushed along when a star explodes, or when a star goes nova, or when a star sloughs off its layers, and that stuff gets pushed along like a snowplow, and it builds up, and sometimes that causes other things to happen on a grand multi-light year scheme. All right, and that could cause, for instance, a new star formation, you know, and it could cause you know, other glows to occur. It can cause bubbles to appear in a nebula. That is a bubble that is a expansion bubble of this material, and where it hits thicker material, it slows down and it gets stopped. And as it's slowing down and getting stopped, it's heating up, and thus it then begins to glow. And the atoms do the same thing I was talking about. The electrons get ionized, they recombine, they give off light at characteristic wavelengths, and we can see everything just by looking at the light from these objects. So it's rather extensive, and it's really just a most amazing science. And I think you can understand why I like astronomy so much, because everything you see in the sky, every single thing, we can actually decipher at some point. Maybe not now with what we know, but we're getting to that. We're getting to the ability to do that. I'm going to Arizona next Friday for 10 days, and I'm going to be speaking at the Mutual UFO Network of Phoenix group. I've been there 2 times before, or maybe 3 times, and I'm going to be talking about exoplanets and how we think we're going to be able to see whether an exoplanet may have life on it. We now have a way to test that.
Is it the vegetation?
It is indeed. You are thinking. You are very. See, you listen.
I try sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get distracted, but it's all for the benefit of the show.
Very, very pleased. You did that's a very, very good thing. So yes, back in the 90s when the Galileo probe to Jupiter was on its way and winging its way, Carl Sagan, my favorite astronomer, said, "Let's turn that telescope toward that satellite. Let's turn it back toward Earth, and let's see what a vegetated planet looks like." By the way, we're now moving to M15.
Yay! And that's funny because Daryl just actually put a Carl Sagan quote in just a few minutes ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that said, okay, that can't be right. That doesn't look right to me. Maybe it is. So, Carl Sagan suggested that they turn the Galileo probe toward the Earth and let it take a look at what a vegetated planet looks like. So, when they did that, they saw that the vegetation made a characteristic, or had a very characteristic look to it. And that characteristic look was incredible because they used that characteristic look to figure out how a vegetated planet would actually look. And that was something that we had not done to that point, and it was something that allowed us to actually check out our own planet and make a database. And this database that we made was called the Reflectance Index database. And reflectivity and reflectance are similar, but they're different. And that said, which way is it going? Oh shoot! I apologize. I gotta go back to it. And that reflectance index made a database. Gave them a database, and that database was very special because it gave them a data point that says, okay, for this kind of vegetation in the Amazon rainforest, this is what the reflectance looks like. And then they said, well, now let's take a look at another thing. Let's take a look at what happens with the different areas on the planet, and let's use different satellites to figure that out. So Landsat was brought into bear on this. Then the other Earth viewing satellites were brought into bear, and they looked at the Earth in different wavelengths. And over time, over decades, in fact, they built this reflectance database. And that reflectance database is beautiful, Daryl. That's good thinking. The reflectance database basically was pretty clear. It turned out that it was something we could use. And what we used was the fact that the vegetation had a certain characteristic look. And so when we looked at this vegetation, we said, that's pretty cool. We can use this now on exoplanets. If we look at an exoplanet and we compare the reflectance indices, this gives us an idea of whether we know whether there's plant life on another planet. And this is something that has been greatly enhanced over time, and we now have this database. So we're going to be able to look and examine other exoplanets with the James Webb Telescope when it finally goes up next year. And we're going to be able to see whether we actually have vegetation on an exoplanet. And that's going to be a very real, very extensive scientific finding. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very, very happy.
People are saying you just started getting an echo on your voice just about a minute ago. Did you maybe bump something? Yeah.
Well,
it just started a minute ago, though.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I had no idea. Well, let's see if it's gone now. I would like to know if that's gone. Let me know. Meanwhile, we're looking at M15. Measure 15 is a globular cluster. It's a cluster with many tens of thousands of stars. It's actually, this particular one is 34,000 light years away. And all the globular clusters that we see, not only in our galaxy, but in other galaxies, like the Triangulum galaxy, like the Andromeda galaxy, like many other galaxies. Globular clusters are common objects in these, and they are called halo objects. What's halo? Halo objects are objects that orbit the bulge, the nucleus, the center of the galaxy, and that type of orbit is characteristic of the globular clusters. And some of the globular clusters will pass through the plane of the galaxy. They're not outside the galaxy to the point where they will stay outside. They will orbit and sometimes go plunging through the plane of the galaxy. Now, when they do that, maybe they'll pick up stars, and maybe they'll leave stars behind. But either way, they're moving, and they orbit the galaxy kind of in a similar orbit to our sun, which is 220 million years. It takes for the sun to go around the galaxy once. We've done it about 20 times since we were formed. So the other thing about globular clusters is the stars in them are very different. They're not like the stars we see in the disk. They're older stars. All right, they're what are called population 2 stars, and they're very old. They're very much metal poor. When I say what are metals? Metals are anything other than hydrogen and helium to an astronomer. So it means that the stars haven't had a lot of opportunity to manufacture large-scale quantities of these higher elements in the periodic table. And the way they're actually formed in the periodic table is really quite varied. Number one, is the echo still there?
They say it is, but that it's not a big deal.
Okay, I don't know why an echo would show up. But anyway, maybe it's where I was standing. And I do...
Maybe.
I do have the audio off on the camera. But if the audio happened to... Oh, wait. I did a reset of the settings. So maybe the audio's on the camera, and it's possible that it's recording. Let's go here. Is it here? No, it's over here, I think. Bear with me, guys. I'll just figure this out for a second. Let me make sure that
Welcome to live radio.
Audio level display is on. I want that it can be on, the audio level display, but I don't want the audio level to be on. Let's make sure. Ding, 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 ding. Look at all these things I can do. I'm telling you, this is a great camera. Phenomenal camera. Okay, maybe it's under here.
Okay, people are saying it's fixed, and I don't know why.
Okay, that's good. That's good. No, that's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. But hey,
whatever.
Not worried about it, because these are all minor problems in the grand scheme. So yeah. Okay, audio recording is off, if you'll notice. Okay, that's good. Alright, so we don't have to worry about it. But yes, I think that when we look at this globular cluster, what is interesting is that the apparent stillness of it in the sky is belied by the fact that it's actually, as a unit, moving around the center of our galaxy and is circling our galaxy in an orbit that's millions of years in length. I think that is the coolest thing on planet Earth when we see these things, and there's so many things in the night sky that people don't get to see, and I'm hoping that we will be able to take SkyTour LiveStream on the road, so to speak. That's one of the things that we have planned, actually. We want to take it on the road to schools and universities and do the streams from different locations in the United States, or move the telescope and dome like I want to Arizona, and then go to these different universities and schools and do the presentations live using the remotely operated system. Remotely operated systems are wonderful. I have people in Arizona that can always be available to troubleshoot should there be any problems, but the idea is to literally make it bulletproof. And that's what this dome is all about. That's what this dome here in Connecticut's all about, trying to make sure that we can bulletproof this process. Now, any questions so far, Amanda, while I'm looking for another object to zip off to?
No, I'm trying to keep my eye on it, but I'm throwing them in as they come up, so...
Alright, no problem.
See, but I wasn't really big on the global clusters because they're usually
Globulars.
white, and it just looks like a whole bunch of stars.
Well, it's an exploding snowball of stars, isn't it?
Yeah, but this one's like a greenish.
That's just an illusion, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, and
Because this one's beautiful, and the other ones are normally white. Is it just your settings?
It is. You're looking at the settings here on the camera. Remember, we have basically this is actually kind of near the gibbous, nearly gibbous moon here. So I'm using image processing so we can see this at all. I mean, if I go bring this to what it normally looks like, it'd be just a big bright white thing on the screen right now because we got all this moonlight that's causing a problem for us. So,
I like it like this, actually. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it really is, and I think that it's really important to understand there's a lot going on behind the scenes here, and what's going on behind the scenes is that we're looking at an object that is 30,000 light years away plus, and it's moving at high speed through our galaxy, and I cannot tell you enough that it is just absolutely it's amazing to be able to think about it, for one thing, and to put it in terms of to say wow, this thing's moving at high speed, yet we can't see it for our entire lives. We won't see it move a bit in our sky, yet it's moving at high speed. I mean, that's incredible, That's
I have a question.
Incredible. Okay, I want to hear it.
If it's an explosion, why don't they start off blue and then start going red?
It's not an explosion. It's a cluster of stars that formed at one point. Okay, I call it an exploding snowball of stars because it looks like a snowball that's exploding. It's not actually exploding.
Oh.
The word
But
is... Go ahead. What?
But where did they all... Why were they all created in that same area? What set it off that they're all there now? Like, it's not a stellar nursery.
No, but that's the interesting thing about these, is it's not a stellar nursery. But the fact is, it was actually at a time in the young galaxy when this object was, or these objects were in an area that was like a stellar nursery, and they ended up becoming very, very dense because of the way the gas was laid out at that point. Now we don't know exactly how that was or what that was that caused it. We don't know the situation at that time. We can only surmise. That little tiny object, by the way, in the middle of the screen, that's a little tiny, very faint blue planetary nebula. I just wanted to bring that up for a second to check it. It's right near the moon, so it's kind of hard to see, and I just wanted to see if I could see that thing. It's really not very impressive. Not very impressive at all. And it's actually very far away. It's like 3,500 light years. Very tiny. And we see these things in all manner of their development in evolution. So pretty cool. Let's see now. I want to go.
Hold on, back to the question.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
You are so easily distracted.
I know. It's just like on a night like tonight where it's cold and I'm trying to get a bunch of objects in. I do that, so I apologize. So you're asking about it. Well, it wasn't an explosion. So,
but was there something that pulled the stars from the nursery over to that area? Like, why, if it's not a nursery and they're old stars?
Yeah. So there was plenty of time for the gas that they formed within to dissipate and be, left behind as they started orbiting. And the galactic, in the galactic plane, they're orbiting the galaxy as they do. And the gas that was used for formation, some of it was blown away by the stellar winds of these stars when they were younger, and some of it is still in some of these clusters a little bit, but most of it's been dissipated over time, and that's what's left behind is just a naked star cluster without any of the gas left behind, And you don't always get globular star clusters. It's a very different mode of formation for globulars versus, say, open clusters, like in the Lagoon Nebula. Now, maybe the evolution of clusters takes them toward a more spherical, cluster layout, and that would make sense, because going toward a more spherical layout is what you would get in a galaxy where gravity is far, gravitational forces are far apart from each other. So maybe those do that, but I'm just thinking it's very cool that we see this as we do. And personally, I'm not sure whether whether these stars, exactly how they were formed there, because they weren't formed there. They were formed elsewhere, and then they ended up moving, to a different location because they're orbiting the galaxy. Do you see? So as they're orbiting,
they're all staying together in a cluster.
Yeah, they have a mutual gravitational. The mutual gravity, is holding them together. That's correct. I was just checking to see where the Pleiades is, because I'm not going to go image that tonight with the moon, but I just wanted to see where it was. It gives me an idea what time it is, because I can't see the clock.
It is 10 to 10.
Okay.
For you.
Okay.
I had to do the math. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot of math. I just had to subtract an hour. Not like big numbers or anything. Just when I was saying it, I had to say it right.
Yeah.
That's Eastern time.
Have we been out here an hour or 2 hours? How long have we been going?
A little over an hour, yeah.
Okay, good. Good. I'm trying not to get lost in the time here, But
it's easy to do when you're looking at these items.
Oh, it is. I could just be so. I could just be so caught up in all this stuff,
Nah, just don't freeze.
That's the other thing too. I gotta make sure that I think about that, because I do allow myself to get cold pretty easily. Don't even think about it, Yes, sir. Let's see. Now I want to take us to a different part of the sky. Before I go, is there any requests for anyone out there that may want to see something that may be up right now? Okay, we've got Pegasus, we've got Andromeda, we've got Aquarius, we've got...
Ooh, I want to see Aquarius.
Well, it's a constellation. It's a bunch of stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Oh, I thought constellations were too big that we couldn't see them in a telescope.
We can't. We can just see stars within them in a telescope and objects within them.
Take us around Aquarius.
You just want to go for a ride around Aquarius?
I want to go to the 7th house.
Oh, well, I don't know where that is.
When Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't worry, I won't torture you with my vocals. But I so want to break out into song right now.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I love that song.
Okay.
And not that you care, but in astrology.
No,
in astrology. Okay. Bear with me.
Go
Take
ahead,
it with a grain of salt.
I'll bear it.
Gemini's perfect mate is supposed to be an Aquarius. And I don't know many Aquarius.
Really?
Yeah. So I just wonder if I would actually get along with them. I get along with Libras wonderfully.
Okay.
Well, you would know. You're a Libra.
I guess that's true.
My best friend is a Libra.
Okay. Well, I'm a Libra.
Mm-hmm. I always got... and it's not that like I specifically go out looking for people's zodiac signs, but... It just, a lot of times, some of my favorite people, the people I get along most with, and... Yeah, it just so happens that they are Libras.
Wow. That's pretty good.
I think I get along with every sign, though.
Well, and then there's me, who thinks it doesn't make a bit of difference. That, the signs are just things that are artificial, and we force fit them. So
you're done humoring me, I see.
Oh, nonsense. Okay, this...
Well, John and Paul were Libra and Gemini.
Actually,
Lennon and McCartney.
That doesn't really help me. Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, I get it. And I respect people that want to believe in that stuff.
Well, I don't believe in it. It's just something that I've always known. So, just in the back of my head, I'm always have my eye out for Aquarius.
Yeah. Okay.
Aquarii.
Okay, this is something that some of you out there will know. But you'll get it better, I think, if I were to actually just take a little picture of it. And you'll get it. So let's do 10 seconds at 32,000. No, that's just too much. Let's go back to, say, 12,800. That's going to be really bright, but only 10 seconds. Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. This is one part of the double cluster in Perseus. Now, after showing you the globular cluster, I want to show you one of the members of the double cluster, because when you look at it, you actually see that it looks kind of like, if you squint at it, it could be a globular cluster in itself, but it's not. It's one of the double clusters. One component of the double cluster, I should say, and it's something that is very much sought after. It's a beautiful object, and there's two clusters right next to each other that are just stunning. And obviously we can spend a lot of time looking at these things. And I could actually, if I take for 1 second, if I if I do this, I'm going to take the I'll put the small scope on, not the small scope, but the wide angle system in play here to show you this, because this is better. So one moment as I pull out the camera, take my adapter ring, put it on, and now let's go.
Your adapter ring made me think of, like, what are those superhero rings?
Oh, I don't know. What?
Oh, you used to be able to get the rings. I don't know if you sent away at the back of comics or...
Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
You know those little power rings?
Oh.
Someone will know.
Yeah, somebody will know. Okay, I'm going to move us up now.
Secret decoder rings. Thank you, Genghis.
Secret decoder rings. That's right. I remember those. I did get one of those.
Of course you did. I knew you would.
Yeah, I did. I remember those now. I got one. All right, let me just make sure the focus is right, because sometimes it moves a little bit, and as you can see, I do have to change it. You bump the scope a little, and you gotta change it changes the focus now and then. So let's get this up there. There we go. So now I can bring this focus in. That's the other way. Now you see that? See how it just pops in? You know, it goes from like, okay, you think it's focused, so this is what you get. You're out here, right? And you think it's focused right here. You might think it's focused. But watch on the right side, those two stars that are kind of on an angle, all right? Watch as I focus. Watch how small stars right next to them just jump right into view. See that? See that small line of stars that just shows up? Look how much more detail you get just by doing critical focus. That's very important. And a lot of people just don't think about that. So let's do 10 seconds at 12,800 of the double cluster on the wide angle view and check it out. So this is a double cluster. Again, look at this. This is just beautiful. Now you'll notice
that's a gorgeous shot.
It's a beautiful cluster, right? It's a beautiful cluster. Now, if I can just get into my color correction algorithm here, I'm going to give us another little shot in the arm. So there you go. There's your double cluster. Now the double cluster is in Perseus. It's a beautiful winter and summertime object if you just wait long enough. Okay, and as an object that you see in the sky, it's one of the few large cluster combos that you can see with your eye. You know, it's down to the like tonight right now, if you look at the W of Cassiopeia, you look at the N star on the left of Cassiopeia, and you look down to Algol in Perseus, okay, you'll notice that there is a hazy patch in between the two, and that hazy patch is this very double cluster. All right, so it's actually about 6,800 light years away, and the both components are about that distance, obviously, because they were made together in the sky. This is probably the best known cluster because it's actually been known since prehistoric times. Clearly, it's been visible for a long time, and it has looked pretty much the same. It has not changed at all, and I'm pretty convinced that the reason for that is because you know, being 6,800 light years away or so, this object is actually going to have to move an awful lot before we'll actually notice anything. I'm going to do a little deeper photo. So this one that we took, this photo we took was, let's see, okay, it was 10 seconds at 12,800. All right, so let's now do this. Let's take 15 seconds at 12,800. Here we go.
We have a question. I don't know if you'll know or not. Okay. Pete is wondering if the team streaming in December P46 comet is supposed to be at the closest to Earth and visible to the eye, to the naked eye, I'm assuming. Do you know anything about comet P46? Hello? I can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. But you can hear me now, yes?
I hear you now.
Okay.
I don't see any buffering. Okay.
Yeah, no, I had a perfect health. I don't know what it was. That was some weird little thing that happened there. And I'm telling you, man, it's getting closer to Halloween, so weird things are happening. Weird things are happening. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. Well,
So, the 46P there, that comet is one that's going to be visible. Now, when they start to become visible, that's not usually when they're closest to the sun. When they're closest to the sun, they're typically in the daytime sky. In the nighttime sky, they're approaching or receding from the sun. So they were either there and went by it already, or they're coming toward it. But when you see it in the night sky, it's not near the sun at that point, not yet. It'll be in the daytime sky for a significant amount of time.
How close will it be to Earth, though?
I don't know. I'd have to look up the ephemeris data to get that information.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, this is beautiful.
Again, we just assume that you know everything, so...
No. I mean, but see, things that I can look up, I don't memorize. You know?
Yeah.
There's no reason for that. I don't want to memorize things that I know I can just look up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's data that's available to everybody. You know, I'm telling you, it's really just a nice night, even with the moon. You know, and I know that if I had the ability to withstand the cold, I could actually, if I stayed out long enough, the moon will set, and I'd have a dark sky, and I'd have Orion high in the sky. That would be something. Because right now, I can see Aldebaran and the Pleiades rising. So Taurus is coming now. Taurus is coming up now. Yes, go ahead.
Genghis wants to know. Now, again, it might be the filters. Are the blue stars in these clusters hotter? Or is that just your filter again?
Yeah, it's the filter. I have a, just so you guys know, I'm using a light pollution filter which counteracts the sodium vapor lamp glow that you'll see. And this particular telescope is the wide-angle telescope. This wide-angle telescope actually has what I call an aberration toward the blue. It's not apochromatic, meaning it's not going to focus the light all in the same place. I do that later in Photoshop when I do processing, so I didn't need to buy a scope that did that when I can actually approximate it by doing it in Photoshop. But so the actual true color of these stars is white, but I'm gonna, or sort of white, but I'm gonna do one thing for you. I'm gonna show you by cutting down the exposure a lot. Let's go 5 seconds, and let's see if I can show you some of the reds that are in this cluster. There's some stars that are actually redder. Okay, this might be a good one. Let's check it out, shall we? Okay.
I see red, but I don't know if they're artifacts or not.
No, see, there's...
Are they red? Yeah, I see red.
See, there's two orange...
at least 4.
There's 2 and 3 and 4 orange stars right in this view.
5.
Yeah. Is there a 5th one?
To the right?
Yeah, I see that one to the right. Then up above, there's another reddish one. And then down... below
diagonal. And then 2 to the left.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, right. There's 2 to the left. Yeah, so you can see that...
is that how you read pictures, from right to left?
Read pictures?
Yeah. Like when you were looking at that picture, you started it from the right side. Oh, that distant one on the right. The first one I saw was the 2 on the left, and then I started working to the right, but you went backwards. I was just wondering. You're left-handed, so you're kind of weird.
Yeah, I am. And I do that in particular. I do that for another reason. Most of you know that, like, you know, a few years ago, 3.5 years ago now, just over 3 years ago actually, I had surgery, and during the surgery I had 8 strokes, and so I was quadriplegic and quite blind, and I had to learn how to see again, had to learn how to walk again, learn how to talk again, and all those things. And one of the things that happened was I was left with a few visual disturbances in my field of view. And there's certain things I can't see. And I have to scan an image in order to see them all and get an overview, and then I can go back and dive in. But I can see quite well considering the assault. I just had a doctor's appointment the other day actually, and he looked at my brain and in the CAT scan or the MRI, and he's like, you know, if I saw this brain, he said, and knew that the patient with this brain was coming into my door, he said, I would not expect you to come in. Because he goes, I don't know how you're able to do it. And I said to him, I don't either, frankly. I just knew that I was going to be okay, and I just made sure that I followed through on my thoughts. I didn't ever lose hope, and I did that, and I developed a few ways to help beat the paralysis and stuff that I passed on to neurologists and to other people that have had strokes. And the stroke wasn't because of age. The stroke was just because a clot got away from them when they were fixing this thing, and it went to the brain and exploded into a million pieces, which sent all these strokes to my head, like a shotgun blast into the head. And the fact that I'm walking and talking today is really kind of surprising to me. I didn't expect.
We're so glad to have you. Holy cow!
Well, I don't want to keep going back on this. I know that people get tired of hearing this garbage. It's like, I don't want to hear that again.
I don't. It breaks my heart every time I hear it.
Well, and that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to break people's hearts. I want to just, I celebrate the fact that, the human body is a miraculous thing. And if you got the right attitude, you can heal yourself. And I just think that it's very, very important to do. And I don't know enough people that believe that. I know people that have tried and people don't believe it.
Dr. Mark in Texas was here the other night.
Oh yeah.
And you made a difference in his life by telling your story, so I don't think it's in vain that you share it.
No, he's a good guy.
And there were a few newcomers tonight in chat. They found you through other streams and whatnot, so people that love stars, love this kind of stream.
Yeah.
Can't get these views anywhere else, that's for sure. And you never know. So I think you should keep telling the stories.
Well, I don't belabor them, but I do know that when I've had people call me or write me and say, I don't understand, how this happened to me. I don't understand what's going on. Is there any way? What can I do? I just tell them how I did it, and I say, look, I'm nobody special. It just I was the man that it happened to. I was the victim of this, okay? And I just say what I did, and I tell them how I recovered. I told them about the perseverance and how I didn't listen to the doctors and didn't take no for an answer. They wanted me to stay for 10 weeks in the rehab hospital, and that was June 15th. They told me that. And then when July 3rd rolls around, that's not 10 weeks. July 3rd rolls around, and they said, we're sending you home because you've already, you kind of went past our expectations. Well, I did that for a reason. I did it because this was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. The most debilitating thing for sure. My gosh, I lost my sight and my ability to move. I was locked into my body. I was locked inside with nowhere to go, no way to communicate. And on top of that, I had a tracheotomy, so I couldn't even talk. So, and after the surgery, when I was in a coma, they put me in a coma for medical reasons because they didn't know if I was going to survive. So they put me in a coma to help me survive. Well, it worked, obviously, and during that time, I was wide awake. They thought that they had drugged me enough, but I heard everything they were saying. I heard them tell my family he's going to be a quadriplegic and blind, most likely. Be prepared. And I'm sitting there going, what? Are you talking about me? And I'm trying to move, and I never heard anything. So it's like, wow, I guess they're talking about me. And, that was the first revelation. But never, ever, ever did I have panic. I didn't have any kind of panic or fear. And it was because I was determined. Maybe that was just stupidity because I thought, well, I'm certainly going to be okay. And it wasn't denial because I obviously knew that this happened to me. I knew this happened to me. So clearly, it did happen. And you just deal with it,
You have much stronger positive attitude than a lot of people in that position would have. And that might be why a lot of people end up in that situation and don't recover from it.
I just, there was two people when I was in the rehab hospital. There was a couple of people that were, stuck in one position because they couldn't move or whatever. And what's funny is I found myself going over to them and talking to them all the time just to find out their state of mind, see how they were doing. And, I didn't offer them false encouragement. I noticed a little conus, what they call a conus, is a tremor. And I said, now that tremor means that the brain is trying to make that finger work. So if it's trying to do that, it means that you can help it, And I know that by, seizing that as an opportunity to make your body work again, I know that there's people that actually, and I know this because they told me, that actually benefited from that, and they ended up improving their usage of their hands when they couldn't use their hands. And it was just because they managed to, embrace the pain, embrace what was going wrong with their body, to use that as a learning tool. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at that. I know I'm focusing on the double cluster tonight, but it's gorgeous. You can't deny it.
So much for Aquarius.
Well, Aquarius is a very dim constellation, relatively, and there's really nothing of interest in Aquarius other than a very, very faint few planetaries, and we can't see them with the moon out. But its time will come, I promise. We'll go over there, and I'll give you... Oh, I saw a meteor. And we'll get there. I promise. Okay. Not tonight, though.
No? Okay.
Yeah, no, tonight's... It's not going to happen tonight, because the moon has to go away.
How about my twins, Castor and Pollux?
I'm looking now. See, the Gemini is not up yet. Gemini is still below the horizon. Auriga's coming up now. And I see Perseus. I see... Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something, because it's going to relate to our Halloween show. So... Don't
be spoiling our show in advance.
Oh, no. This won't be spoiling anything.
Actually, you know what?
What's that?
Yeah, well...
You know what I'm thinking.
I could possibly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, before I do that, I'm going to this other thing.
Of course you are.
Oh, no, actually, you know what?
It wouldn't be bad if you got some pictures.
I stopped.
Before our Halloween show, but I could always find them on Google. It's just nicer when I share your pictures.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to this one right now, and nobody knows what we're talking about, but I'll let them in on it.
Is it somebody's head?
Oh no, we can't look at any nebulae tonight, because we can't see nebulae with the moon out very well, unfortunately. So that's...
Are they types of stars?
Yes.
2 types or just one?
Well, you say it's someone's head. It really is someone's head in mythology. The star, it's a star we're going to. It represents someone's head.
Is it a demon star?
It is indeed.
Is it Algol?
It is indeed. And
it helps when it's multiple choice. I just take away.
Yeah.
Take away all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That is it.
Oh, it's a pretty color.
Yeah.
Or is that your filter?
It's the filter, but don't worry. I'm gonna, I'll tell you a little bit more about it here in a second. Now, this star is also known as Medusa's head, because, and that's when you said, is it someone's head? I thought that's what you were talking about, were you?
No, I'm not that clever.
Oh, okay, so you were thinking about witch's head, right?
I was thinking the witch's head, yeah, but
okay,
that's
no,
nebula
fine.
style.
This is the second brightest star in Perseus. It's called Beta Persei. It's also known as Algol. It's also known as the head of Medusa, or the demon star. It's also known as, Gorgonea Prima, okay? If you want to go there. But the fact is, Algol is a very pretty, very bright star. But it's also a double star, and it's a variable star. Now, we're looking at it through the wide-angle image right now, the wide-angle telescope. So we're not going to see the detail in it that we can see. Had we do it with the zoomed-in view, but I think that it's important to understand it This particular star is it's in Perseus, and it's 90 light years away from us. And as a star that's a bright star, it is actually a B8 star. So in our OBAF-GKM that Amanda is very good at telling us about now, it's a B8. So it's partway through the B's, almost to the A type stars. So it's a bluish white star. Okay, and it's in terms of its brightness, it's 93 times the sun's brightness, which is really quite a lot. And if you add up all of the energy from the star, it's over 180 times brighter than our sun. All right, so it's a big star, and it may be destined for a supernova someday. And that's another aspect about Algol that's pretty interesting. So let's see here. My feet are now numb.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. Is what it is. You just bring Algol back down into the center.
Well, we're almost at the 2-hour point too. Keep in mind.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I was wondering what that was gonna be like if I kept going.
Ooh.
Isn't that pretty?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and again, I gotta play with the focus a little. It does float a little. Okay, so that's out. But let me actually defocus it to show you. Okay, now it's a little bluer than it should be, but it is about that blue. Okay, it's really, really pretty. And you're not seeing details on Algol. You're seeing stuff on the lens. All right, and that fluttering that you see, that's actually the atmosphere that's causing aberrations on the star image. So stars.
What's the black spot in the middle?
Yeah, that's
really in the middle.
Yeah, that's dust and stuff on my lens. Yeah. So when you look at an object like this, like at a star, you can't really see a lot of fluctuations when you're down like here. Okay, and this is now focused. All right, but when you're out here, okay, you can see those fluctuations. And when I was studying in the observatories, we would often do this right here. We would defocus the image to get an idea of what was called the seeing of the night sky, because we had to take the seeing and the transparency. Transparency was how clear it appeared to be. Seeing was how still the air was. Tonight, the seeing would be on a scale of 1 to 5. The seeing would probably be a 2. So it's a little bumpy night. Okay, if there's jets flying, there's probably going to be some turbulence. So as it goes, okay, stars like Algol here are really pretty and have an awful lot of. You see how that star above it just pops into view? That tells you how important focus is. See that? There you see it. All right, and there it's gone. And it almost doesn't look like a difference, but boy, oh boy, a little bit of difference, and then look what happens. You get that star, pow, and then the stars just pop in.
Did you say this was a double star? Because I'm not seeing the double. Or does the double eclipse it? Because Daryl said that it's regular. Algol is regularly eclipsed by another star, which changes its brightness.
Yes, it's a variable double star. So, and it could be. I'll have to look up. It might be a spectroscopic binary, which means that it's only visible in its spectrum. But I mean, you can actually see.
Double stars I've seen the second one. We looked at other double stars, and I've seen the second one, and especially when you defocus it, you can really see it. But I didn't see anything around it when you defocused.
Yeah, no, I mean this one here, the separation between the two components is about 58 arc seconds, so we certainly would see it. We don't see the separation when it's like under an arc second, and when it's like so close to the star. So this star, we would see it, and it may be the star just above it that we're looking at right there. And I'm not sure But it says, in the data, it's telling me that the separation between the stars is 58.5 arc seconds at what's called a position angle of 156 degrees, and they're separated by 1,600 astronomical units. And again, 90 light years away. But man,
so is the star what's making it change its brightness? Is it?
Well, no, it's a variable star too, and see, variable stars are a different family of star. We really haven't talked about them much, but the American Association of Variable Star Observers, the AAVSO, used to track these a lot, still do, and there's a lot of variable stars. They change periodically in their brightness. The brightness changes are sometimes the result of another star orbiting them closely, or mechanics going on within the star that change its brightness every so often. Magnetic field changes, things like that, or power output changes that are relatively routine. Now, we talked on our show when we talked about the cosmological distance ladder on SkyTour Radio, Sunday nights at 9. We talked about how the stars that are called Cepheid variables, named after the prototype star that was seen in the constellation Cepheus, King Cepheus, which is actually near Cassiopeia in the sky.
It's his wife. Cassiopeia is his wife.
Yeah.
And Andromeda is the daughter.
Yeah.
And Perseus is the boyfriend.
And you are so good at that.
Ah!
And
I like stories.
But Cepheid variables are variables that brighten and dim in a very specific way. And we noticed that there is a relationship, all right, between their brightness and the time that it takes for them to go all the way to their dimmest and to their brightest. That's called the period luminosity relationship, right? So brightness is luminosity, and period is the time it takes for it to go from bright to dim. And that period will be a specific value, very, very much the same for all the Cepheid variables, everywhere we see them. And if we see a Cepheid variable that has a period of a certain number of days or a certain number of months, we know that it's going to have a certain brightness, and that brightness is an intrinsic brightness, a brightness that it would be if it was at a standard distance from us that we call the absolute magnitude. We can get an absolute magnitude from it. Knowing that, and knowing how bright it looks in the sky and how bright we know it is, absolutely, we get something called the distance modulus, and thus the distance to anything in which this Cepheid variable exists, like a galaxy. And many Cepheid variables in other galaxies do exist, and we see them, we catch this, we measure the brightness and changes, and we monitor these variable stars. We notice that, okay, this star varies over 3 weeks. All right, it's religious. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down, religiously over 3 weeks. Well, that 3-week period leads to a luminosity value, an absolute value for a brightness that we can then use when we compare it to the apparent brightness of this star in the galaxy. Maybe in this galaxy, it's a magnitude 16 star. But an absolute magnitude, maybe it's a star that would be a brightness of 5. And now we can take those two values and actually calculate a real distance to the galaxy with this. And so, as part of our distance measurement, these Cepheid variables are very important. And so when we see variable stars, some stars are variable stars, other stars are Cepheid variable stars. That is to say, their period of brightness change, all right, top to bottom, brightest to dimmest, corresponds directly with their overall intrinsic brightness. Some stars do that. Some stars don't. Some stars are called irregular variables. They just vary for the heck of it whenever they want to. And that could just be because of turbulence in the stellar atmosphere of that star. But I just thought that maybe it would be fun to look at Algol here, because Algol is a very famous variable star. And I think it was Daryl that said that Algol is a very famous variable star as well. Now, and see, the thing about Algol that we haven't mentioned is Algol is really a triple star system. Okay, There are, there's A, B, and C. All right, we have Algol, and then we have these other two. All right, and the large primary, that is the one we're seeing here on the screen, is Beta Persei. Okay, and that's the A. All right, and it's also eclipsed by this very much dimmer B component every 2 days. All right, so it's basically it's actually 2 days, 20 hours, and 49 minutes. So we can actually see the brightness change every exact amount of time. All right, so Algol's overall brightness is usually about 2.1 in magnitude. Okay, but it regularly will dip down to 3.4 during the time where it's in these eclipses, which take roughly 10 hours. And Algol will brighten and dim, brighten and dim, brighten and dim on a regular basis. And then there's also another eclipse when the fainter star is eclipsed now by the primary star again. So there's two double-edged sword here. Let's say you have a star going around another star. As the star goes around the star and comes toward us, and now it's in front of the star as seen from here, that's an eclipse. But then as the star goes behind the main star, that's also an eclipse. All right. So if they're in the line of sight like that, we're going to get a double eclipse. Now, if the star is brighter than Algol for some reason, then as it comes around the front of Algol, Algol is going to get brighter. And then as it goes behind Algol, Algol is going to get dimmer, as seen from here. Because we can't see the actual separate star, with a regular telescope like this. So we do have these multiple eclipses that occur with brightness like that. And I'll stop talking now just in case somebody wants to catch up and ask a question.
Well, I was just going to say, Daryl was telling us that, where was it? I'm trying to see where it started. Okay, the Cepheid variables are how Edwin Hubble discovered that Andromeda was a galaxy.
Yeah, well, that's true. Hubble, when Hubble was looking at these, they were called nebulae originally, as we have talked about on SkyTour Radio, before they were actually discovered to be island universes of their own. Remember, I used that term. Mm-hmm. And as island universes of their own, it took a lot of time to study the Andromeda galaxy, which wasn't even known to be what's called a galaxy. It came from, remember the term it came from, galaxia, which means milk. All right, and that was as applied to our Milky Way. So that was kind of interesting, and I think that it's really important to look at the fact that our galaxy, everything we know about it, comes from, in part, learning about what other galaxies looked like as seen from here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, since we're talking about it, I'll go to the final object for the evening here, which is not too far away.
Is it Andromeda?
You are just spoiling my fun. Yeah, no, I'm just going to check out the Andromeda galaxy one more time while we're...
Wonderful, because I was going to say, the chat kind of went in the direction of Andromeda, and Pete, one of our new listeners...
Hi, Pete. How you doing?
And welcome, of course.
Of course, I'm welcoming Pete to our SkyTour LiveStream. Thanks, Pete.
He wanted to know if there were any past video of us looking at Andromeda. And, of course, there's many.
There are, yeah.
Daryl pointed out that this is the time of the year for Andromeda, so
yeah.
I said I'd see what we could do, and you beat me to it. You already had it in mind, so here you go, Pete, and everyone else.
Yeah,
we're heading to Andromeda.
Pete. We're heading there again, and I think that you'll enjoy the Andromeda view tonight, because Andromeda is actually nearly directly overhead right now. Now, this is in our little 4K video mode, and so we're actually seeing the galaxy while recording, but now I'm going to kill the recording and you'll say, hey, where'd it go? And it is actually it's actually still going to be here, and we're going to just drop down. We're going to do, because the moon's out, we're only going to go to 12,800. But I'll do a 20-second exposure. Okay.
And when we were talking about Cepheids, Charles wanted to know if they were the first standard candles. And I've heard that expression before, but I'm not exactly, I can't remember exactly what it was. Could you talk about that for a moment?
Standard candles are stars and objects that we use as standards for determining, look at that. Standards
look at the lines.
For determining the distance to different objects. And one of the objects that we used was a Cepheid variable as a standard candle. We used nearby stars as sort of like as standard candles because they were able to give us parallax. That is the distance to the stars. We used the redshift of galaxies as standard candles, and that was something that Hubble was heavily invested in, and that was used to determine how far away galaxies are based on how fast they are moving away from us. That's called recessional velocity, and that's something that is very interesting. This is the beautiful Andromeda galaxy, folks. It's something that we've seen before, and tonight I think because it's at the zenith, it's really looking really pretty, even though we have a nearly gibbous moon out. But thanks to some image processing I'm doing on the fly, we're actually seeing it as a deep sky object rather than a moonlit object as best I can tonight. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying this. You also notice that there's two other little galaxies, and these galaxies are interesting because we talked about them on SkyTour Radio. We talked about these particular galaxies. Let's go check them out. Up top here, all right, and over here you see this galaxy. This is actually what's called an elliptical galaxy. Basically featureless. It looks like a rather elongated ellipse. Now that's all stars, for sure, but it's an elliptical galaxy. And there's another galaxy that's also elliptical in this region, and it's right down here. Okay, this galaxy is also an elliptical galaxy, but it's very, very much more round. Okay, so this one might be an E1 versus an E6 or so, which is a more elongated galaxy. You'll notice that the color is a little different. Elliptical galaxies tend to have older stars in them. They tend to have very little gas, and sometimes they'll have dust and dust lanes. Why dust lanes? Well, dust lanes are fairly common. If you look in the Andromeda galaxy here, you can see two dust lanes right here. These are dust lanes in the Andromeda galaxy that you're looking at. See that? And these dust lanes are very convoluted. They're very variegated. They have a lot of little segments in them. And mapped out with the Hubble Space Telescope, this is just an incredible location. Now we can also see in this view some of the globular clusters that are in Andromeda, but we don't actually know quite which ones they are. We can see some of the H2 regions, the star-forming regions as well, that are in Andromeda. Okay, one of the more obvious ones is just right of center. It's a faint reddish cloud that we're seeing there. And so we're seeing a lot of elements within the Andromeda galaxy that we typically may not see, but because of the night, in spite of the moon, we can see them. And the thing is, it's dry out. I'm not getting any moisture on the lenses, but it is 30 degrees, heading down into the upper 20s. So even though I'm wearing wool socks, it has become quite cold out here, and I'm very, very cold. So I am going to be calling it here pretty soon, just for self-preservation reasons. I'm not even going to cover the telescope tonight. I'm just going to set it up, close it, and get inside because it's just so cold.
Do you think that there are still stars forming in these galaxies?
Oh yeah, the Andromeda galaxy has what are called stellar nurseries. So does M43. I'm sorry, M33. M43 is in Orion. M33 is in the Triangulum galaxy. That galaxy actually has star forming going on as well. And I'm just going to try and go look at that one more time.
So much for freezing toes.
Yeah, I know. I just, you know how it is with me. Just one more. Mm-hmm. I'm that kid.
Ronald called that earlier, actually.
He did?
He did.
What did he say?
Mark always wants one more.
Yeah, he's right. Well, let's just see. 11% in this battery.
Well, I honestly believe that's why people keep coming back. Because you've been doing this all your life and you still get so excited and you're still so passionate about this kind of thing, and it shows and it's infectious.
Well, I just love it. I mean, and you know what? Let me be honest. I set myself up with a really, really nice little system here. Okay. I have a dome. Oh, wow. I have a dome here. I get to explore this dome and do all this work in the dome. Look at this. Wow. Holy cow. Now, this is what happens when it's right over your head. I mean, that's beautiful. That's M33. It's an SC spiral. It's a more loosely put together. Spiral arms are there. But you can actually see little knots of brighter, areas that kind of aren't stars, but you're looking at is H2 regions. These H2 regions I was telling you about. There's several in this galaxy that are very, very prominent. And I know that people, I don't have time to focus on them right now. I have before. But you can actually really clearly see some areas in this galaxy where you've got some big star forming regions. There's one right in the center now, right just left the center. There's one there, and that's their Orion Nebula, for instance. Okay, that's their Lagoon Nebula for them in that galaxy. So that's what we're looking at there. Now, this was 12,800. Let me dare to go up to 20,000. My feet are actually hurting now. So I'm glad there's only 10% left in this battery, because it's going to force me to go in. I may have to just go in and warm up first before I close up everything, because I'm not able to feel my left foot. Oh, wait, that's normal. It's numb. Haha, it's a joke.
Wow. Paralysis joke.
Yeah, it is. So, let's see. So we got a little bit of moonlight in this one, but let's see if we can get a little more out of this. Okay. Now, let's go to our image processing. I know it looks noisy, but see, that's the magic. That's where the magic happens, when you can go in and play with these later. And that's why I make these available to you online, so you can check them out. This is what it would look like if we just took the picture with the moon. All right, so you can see that I'm really pulling a lot of information out of this that's really hard to get. All right, typically. So now we come down here, and let me just bring this contrast down a little bit to kind of even that out. Maybe a little up. Yeah. That's about the best we're gonna do tonight with the moon. You always take pictures of galaxies when it's you always take pictures of galaxies when you are in a better moon condition, and we're not in a good moon condition at all right now. But that's all right. I still think it's
still beautiful objects.
I think it's still a beautiful night.
It was a great night.
I love to see these beautiful things, and this is what it looks like to your eye. Okay, frankly, actually, let me correct that. This is about what it looks like to your eye. Okay, so you just barely see a couple stars there, but hidden behind those little stars, hidden in the murk, is these beautiful objects. And I'm going. Oh man, I'm doing this all the time. I am just crazy this way. You know, I always want to do one more, just one more, just one more. You know, and so I apologize for that. I'm probably just gonna end up like falling to pieces here. Now, let's just do this. Let's go to that. Last thing. Even the telescope is complaining. It is. It's actually complaining here.
Well, Jenny dropped by for a minute, so I'm glad she got to hear her favorite grinding noise.
Oh, okay, cool.
This the Pleiades?
You got it.
Yay!
You got it. Yeah. Is she still there or did she leave?
I'm not sure. I hope she's still here.
Okay. Well, Jenny, thank you for coming by. I'm humbled by the fact that you came to visit. Thank you so much. And okay, that's where we'll sit right there. And I'm going to do one shot, which will be kind of bright, I'm sure, but I'm going to do one shot.
Should I be warning people to watch their eyes?
No, I've got the image processing going on, dynamic processing going on, so it won't be a blowout. It'll be blue though. 20 seconds.
I like blue.
Yeah, I know you do. At this angle, the dome is letting in a lot of the wind, so it's like, oh. Yeah, okay, see, so that's a little bright. Let me cut it down a bit. 7% battery. I'm going to go down. Let's go down. Not that either. Let's go down to 12,800 and go 2 stops at 20 seconds. Okay, now my hands are hurting. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not a complainer. I'm really not. If I was a complainer, oh boy, you would have heard it. It's like just one more. I mean, why waste a good night? And look at that. The Pleiades, they're just gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. And you can see the nebula. There's some nebulae there that are showing up. I'm going to get a really good shot of this over the winter. I'm going to end up getting an exceptional view of the Pleiades. I'm going to come back, take lots and lots of photos, and stack them. And we're going to basically get these looking beautiful. Okay, so first things first, let's go and grab that picture again. Alright, now let's play with it, see what we can do. Holy cow, that's about as good as it's gonna get. Maybe a little more. Okay, so now a couple things to notice. Here in this view of the Pleiades, you can see blue reflection nebula. The stars have an unnatural purple halo around them. That goes away in processing, and I'll get rid of that. But if you look at the middle star there, which has a couple around it, you can actually see a blue haze around that. That's there. To the right of it is another star that has a brushed look to it. That actually is there as well. But then up above, all right, you'll see another star that has a more pronounced bluish haze around it. All right, that is Merope. That's the Merope Nebula, which is that right next to that star. You can see that somewhat linear line just above it. That's actually a very real nebula, the Merope Nebula, like I said. And when I get a good shot of this over the winter, we're going to be getting some beautiful imagery of this. Beautiful imagery. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that. Now, I'm going to do another exposure. I'm going to just, might as well while I'm here, right? Even though the moon's out, I'll see what I can do. I'll do 20 seconds at 12,800 again. And meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, I'll take them before my hands cease working. And there we go. And then I'll just do this again, so you can just enjoy the Pleiades for a couple of minutes. So it's been kind of a fun night. It was a more successful night than the other night. Obviously,
you're choosing when to end it. That's a good sign.
Yeah, the new equipment is working great. I'm very pleased with the new equipment, and our new equipment is giving us the ability to, pick and choose when we want to end our stream and not be made to end our stream. And I'm very pleased with that. So that's a good thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. I had to drive to I did have to drive to a city elsewhere in the state to grab this thing today, to have it ready for tonight. And what it was a new cable modem, because I have I've got this high-end internet service, and I wasn't getting high-end results. So when I called today, and after having Wi-Fi drop on me a few times, I said to the people, for paying over $100 a month, I really expect a lot more for my money. And they said, well, yeah, you should be getting more for your money. And so we ended up coming to a realization that I had a modem that was outdated, apparently, even though I got it just a year ago. And it was, I guess, at the tail end of its usefulness back then. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy my internet connectivity the way I wanted to in the past couple of years, but I am now. I got throughput that was through the roof earlier today in testing, and I was preparing probably for 2 or 3 hours to get this system ready. And once I got it installed, it was working flawlessly, and I think it's paid off.
Wonderful.
I'm just glad it's paid off, because I really needed it to. Sorry for doing so many shots, but those of you that are with us know that I will take a number of shots of the same object and then stack them, and take that stack and turn it into a beautiful processed image, hopefully, and be able to turn that around and provide it to you. And I also give you the raw shots too, like each of these individual shots, so that you can try your hand at the processing yourself as well. And one of the things I'm planning on doing is actually going around the country to different places to teach people how to do this processing, and maybe some astronomy conventions I'm sure would benefit from it, But I'm not the best at this. There's other people that do this a lot better than I do, and have spent a lot of time doing this, more so than me. But well, I don't know. Maybe not more, but maybe in a better way, because they have superior tools. I just use some of the latest Photoshop and stuff. But for the UFO analyses that I do for the Mutual UFO Network, I mean, I have tools that allow me to take the blur out of images. So I see a blurry image, I can sharpen it right up. I did it today, actually, on one. I have tools so I can take a video that's bouncing around, and I can stabilize it so that only the object of interest is, stock still in the image, so we can see exactly what we're looking at. Very helpful when someone thinks they have something and it turns out to be something different that you can't see unless you stabilize the footage.
And I just put the link to our companion Facebook site.
Oh, thank you.
In the chat. So when he does stack the images and clean them up, you can always check them out over there and take them, play with them, use them as a,
dartboard.
No. What do you call those things? Your desktop picture?
Oh, the background?
Your wallpaper?
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
sure,
or
people can have that. People can use them for that. Sure.
play around with Photoshop, add your own aliens.
Yep. Have you seen Bill Skywatcher in the chat, by the way?
I have not. He went to see the latest Halloween movie, actually.
Yeah, and he said he was going to drop into the chat when he got back. So I don't think that's.
I think P&K Space Imaging is also streaming. Let me see here. Oh, thank you, Stride Rider 1. Oh, and Pete, thank you. I got some subs.
Oh, good. Well, you deserve it. I mean, you do
Bill
SkyTour News.
Thank you, yes. Bill is also streaming. Bill NY Skywatcher, so when we wrap up here, I encourage you to go over there.
That's funny, because he also...
Elliot Astro Imaging is also streaming right now, so...
Oh, very good.
Oh, A14, thank you for subbing. I appreciate that. Wow. Good night.
Yeah. For you, did they subscribe to me?
I have no idea. Probably a few people did.
Yeah.
A few people that didn't sub to me sub to you. So that's okay.
Well,
I don't do too much with my channel. I followed American Ninja Warrior. I followed the Olympics. I do
say the word
SkyTour
Beatles.
News.
You're a Beatles person. I that's another thing.
I am, but I can't do much with them on my channel because of copyright.
Yeah.
So, and since it's Halloween, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Look for a breakdown of the original Saw movie coming soon.
Yeah, I told Amanda yesterday. I was looking at all the scenes in Saw, and I was like, this is just such silly stuff. I mean, it doesn't do anything for me to watch Saw. So I guess
But then I explained why the people were in these situations in the first place, and
it made a little more sense. Yeah, because these are people that deserve to be in those situations.
Some of them did, not all of them, but it's fun to think, what would you do in these situations?
No,
and
it's really not.
Does everyone deserve a second chance? Does everyone deserve redemption? I find those much more interesting than does last person get ripped apart,
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, I kind of remember there was a movie I saw as a kid. It was called Mark of the Devil, and it was really a movie that was kind of like Saw for its time. And it had to do with many different tortures that they were doing in medieval England or wherever. And so they had these really wacky torture devices that they were using on people. And one of them, the worst one, was one that made everybody kind of retch and vomit. And they actually gave you vomit bags when you went into the theater.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that was really for effect, because there were people that did puke when they saw some of these scenes. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, because that's disgusting, but honestly, I just had no, I don't see any, sorry, a chill. So, and didn't I say 15 minutes ago I was done?
Oh, way longer than 15 minutes, but yeah, sure.
Okay. And then tomorrow I got to get my license renewed. I was supposed to get it renewed on my birthday, which was on the 17th, just the other day.
Yesterday?
Yeah. So now I'm driving without a license. I'm going to drive without a license to get my license renewed.
What a rebel.
Rebel. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Someone's already got a $627 fine for smoking cannabis while driving a motor vehicle.
In Canada?
By the way, legalized? I'm in Canada, folks. Mark is in Connecticut. I am in Sydney, Nova Scotia, in Canada. So
yeah, where it's now legal, apparently.
Well, it was legal as of the 1st of October, but it actually started being sold in stores yesterday.
Sold in stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty soon you'll be able to get it on Amazon.
But see, well, I think you can anyway. But probably. Wow. But just because it's legal and you can buy it in stores now, I'm sure, if you've been smoking pot for 30 years, you've probably smoked it in the car before.
Yeah.
Just because this person got a fine doesn't mean it's because it's now legal. It's probably not the person's time. It's probably not the person's first time smoking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, I am officially done. I can't go anymore. I've had all I can stings. I can stings no more. Popeye. Okay.
I know Popeye.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for coming and enjoying the stream with us. We had a good time having you here. Very enjoyable having you here. I very much enjoy it. And I wanted to thank Amanda for joining us again. It's something that I think we should keep on doing. We're going to keep doing it. As the winter approaches, we'll have better skies, clearer skies, and no moon. Now, keep in mind that next week from Friday for 10 days, I'll be in Arizona doing talks and so forth, but I'll try to stream when I can. We still have SkyTour Radio on schedule and on time on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on kgraradio.com. You can listen for Amanda and I there and enjoy us. And again, we do take questions from the chats everywhere. We're very dynamic and very willing to listen to people who want to talk to us. This weekend, we will have a live show as well, and one of our very special listeners is rumored to be joining us as a guest. And we should...
it's not a rumor, it's a fact.
Okay, and that'll be Daryl. Now, I would like also, Daryl, if he's still around, I'd like to talk to Daryl after this show. So thank you, folks, and we will see you next time. And don't forget, keep looking up. Good night, all.